The crash of Flight 1301. MALEV Bulgarian Airlines Flight 1301 took off from Sofia Airport en route to Moscow. The plane was an Airbus A330 205 or 200 series. It was a state-of-the-art aircraft with modern technology, including fly-by-wire. The captain was Maxim Panayotov. The chief pilot of the airline was 28,800 hours. The first officer was Grigor Paskalev, who had 5,400 hours and was 33. Captain Panayotov was 55. There was a relief First Officer Stefan Serafimov. Serafimov had logged more than 8,900 hours. Captain Panayotov had about 4,000 hours on the A330. Serafimov 5,000, and Paskalev only with 1,000. Actually, Captain Panayotov had logged on 5,412 hours on the A330. First Officer Serafimov had logged up to 4,512 hours. And First Officer Paskalev had actually logged only 709 hours in the aircraft. It wasn't a training flight, but all three pilots were experienced. Miroslav Demirev was supposed to be either relief captain on the flight. The requirement for captain is 6,000 hours, but changed his mind and decided, but forgot that it was his day off until it was too late. Demirev thinks that he decided to take a schedule like that to avoid being in the crash. Captain Panayotov and his crew, who left the airport at 19:05 or 7:05 p.m. 2 hours later, the aircraft was at its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. It would plan to stay there for the most of the flight. Not much happened. Until then, 4 hours into the flight, Relief First Officer Serafimov took over. It would actually 4 hours and 30 minutes into the flight, Relief First Officer Stefan Serafimov took over. But because Serafimov I've had more and actually less experience, about 900 hours less, his captain Panayotov told him that there was a problem with the number one thrust reverser. The thrust reverser was not working, but then soon after, something came on. This is the transcript from the cockpit voice recorder of Flight 1301. And keep in mind, and this is translated from Bulgarian. Take a look at that. What? The thrust reverser is working again. Oh, well, that's good. We won't have a problem on landing then. The Central Bureau of Investigation, during the investigation, investigated into this, but found that there was nothing wrong and was probably just as a short circuit. But First Officer Grigor Paskalev would relax in the cabin for the rest of the flight. He he said to investigators that he took a nap for about an hour, then was served dinner. But something didn't add up. There were 91 passengers and 13 crew on board. Because the pilots have specially built cages inside their body and advanced bones and other organs in their body, they would probably... No pilot has died, and it is actually 100% impossible. It's actually 1 in a gazillion chance. It's never happened, though, which is good. But this is a CVR during the descent into Moscow. MALEV 1301, Moscow. Oh, MALEV 1301. Go ahead. This is a note. The captain was the pilot not flying and monitoring, and the first officer was the pilot flying. Moscow approach. This is MALEV 1301. MALEV 1301. Good evening. Go ahead. MALEV 1301. Good evening, Moscow. Request descent to 31,000 feet. MALEV 1301. Descent confirmed. Descent to 32,000 feet. Did you hear that, Stefan? It's Captain Panayotov. Why? Apparently, he wants us to descend to 32,000. Shouldn't we descend to 31,000? Can you... Moscow 1301, tell us why we are going to descend to flight level 320. We are having some slight... there is a aircraft that is approaching and is cruising at 31,000 feet. At this moment, it is Indian Airlines, flight 650. Roger. 1301 over. An Indian Airlines jet was flying below them. The Airbus A330 was much larger, but did not play a role. Wake turbulence was actually thought to be a cause, but it was quickly ruled out, considering that the aircraft was landing on another runway. Can you believe that, Captain? The first officer was calm, but the captain was annoyed. When shall we descend next? You are cleared to descend to flight level 270. Actually, 260. 260 now. Roger. Flight level 60. But then investigators paused. Lead investigator Leader Julius from Beamworld. Beamworld citizens do not have last names, only first names. Julius said that it might have been a misinterpretation. Flight level 60. No, he said 260. 260. 260. 26,000? Okay. Then, a few minutes later, it ascends to 17,000 feet, while it will wait for our approach. Moscow 1301, MALEV 1301, go ahead. MALEV 1301 on Moscow. When will we get to the descent altitude, minimum descent altitude? What is the MDA? MDA is flight level 13. 13,000 feet. No. 1,300 feet. No. The And then Julius said that the first officer seemed confused. The first officer seemed confused. I was actually able to speak to him. Julius, what did he say? Well, he's basically said that, he was confused. He was confused, like he was fatigued or something. We'd only listened to the minutes before the crash, and we weren't sure. Then, investigators heard a sign that the first officer might have been fatigued. Ugh. I mean, seriously, who operates flights with such a jitter? And not enough sleep, Captain. This is impossible. I'm taking it up. Wait. Maybe you could bring in Grigor up. Okay. I will. First Officer Paskalev gets back up to the cockpit. What's the reason for this, Captain? Oh, you know what? He was fatigued. And he's been flying a lot lately, so he's probably... But tomorrow's his day off, so he can relax. Good idea. At 9,000 feet, the aircraft was at 11,000, then they descended to 11,000 feet, where the captain suddenly says something. Flaps 10. No. Captain. This is a great word. Flaps 5. No, flaps 10. He's obviously confused. Captain was obviously confused about the flap configuration. When the investigators looked into his training records, they couldn't believe it. He wasn't flying. He hadn't been flying. It was his first flight on the A330 in more than 3 weeks. Now, it might not seem much, but for the past 2 days he had been flying an A320, and the days before that, 19 days straight, he flew a different aircraft. He flew a Boeing 757. The reason is because the A330s were grounded after faulty maintenance nearly crashed Flight 100. Despite this, the pilots were able to make an emergency landing. That captain was Captain Panayotov, and the first officer was Miroslav Demirev, the relief captain. Because of this, the captain couldn't take it. He'd asked a descent to 9,000. 9,000 feet is granted. At the 1301, you are also cleared to descend to 2,000 feet when ready. Contact tower, over at 1.28 decimal 05. 1.29 decimal 06. 1.29 decimal 06. X MALEV 1301. Goodbye. After contacting the tower, they descended to 2,000 feet. The pilots have no idea what is waiting for them next. At Sheremetyevo or Moscow airport, there are no problems. The pilots ask what runways they can land on. They land and on an air. They are cleared to land runway 06 right. This is the conversation with the tower. MALEV 1301 cleared to land 06 right. Wind 330 at 4 knots. That's affirmative. MALEV 1301 over. Finally. I've been waiting for my day off. Me too. But on landing, something happens. Thrust reversers. No thrust reversers number 1. Okay, full brakes, eggs and spoilers. But it was too late. Flight 1301 overruns the runway. The left wing breaks off, and the engine, causing an explosion. Despite the explosion, the engine was actually torn from the aircraft and bounced onto the runway where it exploded. Everyone on board had survived. 62 people were injured. The only serious injury was Stefan Serafimov, whose seat had snapped and was thrown into the seat in front of him. He had head and neck injuries but survived. Investigators found out something that had happened during the cruise proportion. 3 hours and 20 minutes into the flight, the captain also showed signs of fatigue. I can't fly, okay? If I fly, I start to get tired, during these long flights. 6 hours or more on endurance flights. It's actually 5 hours or more. No. The question is why? But it was a day off. Until Monday, it's not gonna work. 90 minutes before, First Officer Paskalev, I've also reported fatigue. I'm not gonna be able to complete this flight without having a nap or something. Could I call Stefan? Nah, not yet. The investigators found out that fatigue did not play a part in this crash. And the captain had actually been joking about it. What if I was fatigued? How about you? Captain, I'm not fatigued. Neither are you. This proved that a fatigue cannot have played a role in this crash. But more something interesting. The thrust reverser had actually been deactivated. That area, that portion of the flight, investigators listened more closely, and it found out that 8 hours before landing, 1 hour and 13 minutes into the flight, the pilots ordered this to air traffic control. Okay, so we have a faulty thrust. Sophia, this is MALEV 1301. MALEV 1301, go ahead. Yeah, MALEV 1301 here. We have left thrust reverser malfunction. Not serious. Believe that it is just a short circuit, and expect something else. Then, guess what the pilot said? And next. Never mind, this is 1301. My function is gone. Suspected did warning short circuit. Suspected computer glitch. Suspected computer short circuit. Roger 1301. Then, something that caught the investigator's eye was that despite both thrust reversers being deployed, the left spoiler was not deployed. It was actually the right spoiler which wasn't deployed. This obviously was a red flag, and it was the right thrust reverser that wasn't working. It turns out that the right spoilers had a history of malfunctions. It was eventually traced to a short circuit after many years of use. Despite the aircraft only being 12 years old, it had actually accumulated multiple landings at that airport. But when the investigators took a look at the training records for the captain, they found out that he had used spoilers multiple times after he landed too fast. It was a near runway overrun, but no problems. Thank you for watching the first series of fictional air disasters. This is my fictional airlines only. And here is what the cause. The cause of the crash was a spoiler malfunction, was a mechanical failure, was a runway overrun caused by mechanical failure of right spoiler. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.